So the recent proceedings between the ACCC and Coles have been everywhere recently. I've seen so many different headlines, even calling it the consumer case of the century.
Yes, so we have the ACCC who is alleging that Coles' well-known promotion Down Down is misleading and deceptive conduct. Now, this is drawing a lot of public attention, especially when we're in a cost of living crisis.
Absolutely. And we've seen a string of recent ACCC cases. Even on this podcast, we recently discussed the ACCC and Microsoft case. There has been increased regulatory scrutiny to so many different industries. So this is really just the most recent case in a long string of crackdowns. What is at the centre of this case involves a campaign, like you said, the Down Down campaign, that was implemented between 2022 and 2023. So what the ACCC is alleging is that Coles engaged in this campaign where approximately, I think it's about 200 different consumer products were involved. What would happen is, taking pet food as a product for an example, what the grocery store would do is they would market this one product at a stable price for quite a while. So this particular pet food example that I'm talking about was listed as, I believe, $4 for, I think, over 100 days. And then what happened is there was an interim spike in the price of that same product. So the pet food brand increased to, I think it was around $6, but this was only for a really short period. It was only for about 7 days. And then what happened, and this is the real crux of the legal cause of action, is that very same product was then reduced down to, I believe, $4.50 as an example, under the Down Down and promotional campaign. So whilst there was an impression that consumers, ordinary shoppers, were getting a bargain or a discount with this reduced price, what was actually happening is the product was now $4.50 when it had been $4 for quite a while beforehand. And this is what the ACCC alleges is quite misleading and deceptive towards shoppers. It's a question as, is this a real, genuine discount, or is this an unfair tactic to induce shoppers into believing that they're getting some sort of special deal?
In response, we've seen Coles has strongly rejected these allegations made by the ACCC in saying that it was, in fact, a markdown, because even if it was that higher price for that 7 days, the following price, which they are advertising at the promotional rate, is still discounted.
So they're saying it was $6 at one point, it's now $4.50. That is still a discount.
Exactly.
Notwithstanding the fact that that product was sold at $4 for many, many months before this.
Exactly. So the historical pricing of the product, they are saying, is essentially irrelevant so long as that previous price was higher than the current promoted price. They are also speaking to factors such as inflation, increase in supply distribution cost, and generally just the rise of costs, which have contributed to the rise of our grocery items.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think in that specific time period that we're talking about, 2022, 2023, there was an unprecedented increase in inflation. So that could be a reason why there was that interim or temporary price spike. It's a fascinating legal question because, I mean, if you were a shopper and you learned that this was happening, if you looked beneath the Down Down tag and saw that even though it says $4.50 as a promotion, the tag underneath said $4, would you not feel tricked or misled in some way?
100%. I can understand how the ordinary grocery shopper is now definitely going to be a lot more hesitant when purchasing, and I would feel that I had been misled.
Yeah, I think the question is to a very technical, legalistic argument versus what is the overall sentiment and impression by most shoppers. I'm really looking forward to the judgment in this case. We know that the ACCC also has almost identical proceedings sort of on the back burner against Coles' rival Woolworths. They have a vested interest into how the court will deal with this form of bargain or these sort of campaigns. It also has massive consequences for general businesses that do have promotional discounts and campaigns in the same vein. I mean, what are the rules? Is there going to be a certain amount of time that products have to be priced at a certain level before a discount can be said to be genuine moving into the future. It's quite a grey area, I believe.
It definitely is. And it'll be interesting to see what the outcome is. As you mentioned before, we are at the point of closing submissions. And we know that if there is a contravention that is established against Coles, then they can be subject to fines at around $50 million or even 30% of what they gained from the misleading and deceptive conduct. So it is definitely going to caution against other rivals like Woolworths in how they proceed with their promotional strategies.
Yeah. I also think there's a massive reputational concern at play here for both parties. I mean, just the damage that has been caused already by these ongoing proceedings and all the headlines. I mean, even if Coles is ultimately successful in defending the allegations of misleading and deceptive conduct, I think a lot of Australians will still feel quite duped by this tactic and all the information that has been revealed in the course of the evidence. It's also a really massive concern for the ACCC because they want to be protecting their reputation. There's been some concerns that maybe the regulator felt pressured by community sentiment or even political sentiment in taking the case on in the first place. Everyone is watching, incredibly interested. I mean, there's been some great reporting. I believe counsel for the ACCC tried to position the real crux of the issue as something that instead of saying prices are down, it really was prices are up, down, up, which I think is a really good way of explaining what's really going on here. So I'll be very interested to see the outcome.